What is going on, everyone? My name is Under the Radar and welcome back to the Draft League Viabilities. In the last episode, we covered Blaziken and how it is absolutely awesome, so make sure you guys go back to that video and check it out. I highly recommend it for anybody who is questioning what good fire types there are in the format. In this video, however, we are going to be talking about a mon that a lot of people forget about and a lot of people overlook in drafting, and that is going to be Krookodile. I say a lot of people overlook Krookodile mainly just because there are so many good ground types in OU that a lot of people just kind of look there for their ground types. You have things like Garchomp, you have the likes of Lando, and if you don't want something like that, you can get something along the lines of Tyranitar, Excadrill, Hippowdon. You can get other things like Swampert, or you can get things like Seismitoad. There are so many good ground types out there that sometimes the dark ground type Krookodile just kind of goes overlooked. Realistically though, I don't know how it ever gets overlooked because it is so threatening and has so much potential in so many ways. The first way that I think Krookodile can have a lot of potential is as like a bulky pivot stealth rock setter. It has the ability to intimidate, which makes its defensive stat kind of sort of double in a sense. Well, not double, 1.5. But it makes it a lot more bulky because it can take hits so much better. It can scare things out, it can pursuit trap things on their way out, and it can also set up stealth rocks on them to make sure that they can't come back in for free. The ability to do this is actually really useful just because if you have a setup super like something like Dragonite or Gyarados or Mega Charizard X that you need to set up on a physical attacker, you are now able to do it easier because they can't hurt you as badly now that they're intimidated. This also can be a bulky phasing mon. It gets access to Dragon Tail, so if you want to kind of sort of hazard stack and then shuffle their mons around, you can do that with Dragon Tail, and that just kind of sort of gets a lot of chip damage on them and makes it easier for your other mons to do their job and clean up late game the way you want them to. The next way that this mon can be an absolute threat in so many ways is the fact that it can be a late game Choice Scarf Moxie Sweeper. Moxie is a very unique ability. If you do not know what it is, Moxie is able to raise your attack stat by 1 stage every single time your mon gets a kill. So what this means is that, say your entire opponent's team is grounded, so all you have to do is come in and it's late game and click Earthquake. No matter how high of HP they are, after you get 1 kill, it's going to be hard for them to live it because it's a +1 Earthquake from a Krookodile. Krookodile has mad attack stat. It has a pretty good speed of 92, so it's outspeeding the likes of Nidoking. If that's Scarfed, it can outspeed a lot of things that are trying to speed creep. So say you have a Darmanitan and they're like, well, I'm running Choice Scarf Darmanitan. If he runs Choice Scarf Krookodile, there's no need for me to stay in on it anyway, so I'm not going to speed creep it. And you run max speed, it can kind of sort of play mind games that way. Or it forces your opponents to run Jolly, which make it easier to switch into. So realistically, its speed stat along with a Choice Scarf and Moxie can kind of sort of force team building, and it can force a lot of things on the opponent's side, which make it very unique. Now, its move pool isn't really the greatest, if I'm being honest with you. It's kind of sort of limited to Dark Stab and Earthquake and Stone Edge and like the Elemental Fangs, but Dark Stab is very good in the League format. Knockoff in general is so good because you can kind of sort of cripple a mon from the get-go by knocking off their item, and it's such a high base power move that if you knock off one item and you get the Moxie boost, it just kind of sort of makes it stronger and stronger to the point to where it doesn't matter if they have an item or not, you're going to kill them with a knockoff. Another really cool way that Krookodile can be used is as a stall breaker. Because it is a very fast taunt user along with the access to knockoff, it can cripple the likes of Chansey as a wall, Blissey. It can stop Skarmory from doing a whole lot of damage if you want to run Intimidate on it. It can taunt it from setting up Stealth Rocks, roosting, do whatever you need it to do, and then you can just start firing away knockoffs, and the worst it can do to you is Brave Bird you, which it'll end up taking recoil damage, and Skarmory will end up losing. There is a lot of things that this thing can do as a stall breaker, and it can break so many walls that just want to hazard stack you. For example, Ferrothorn. Granted, it does get the grass stab to hit you extremely hard, but if they're going to set up rocks turn 1, a lot of people are very predictable in leagues that I've noticed nowadays. So if they set up rocks first turn, every single game, no matter what the matchup is, it's a very easy way to just predict it, taunt it, get out, and you don't have to worry about it. It also has access to Superpower and Fire Fang, so it still can scare out the likes of Ferrothorn, Skarmory, and all of these other walls that like to hazard stack. And I kind of want to take a minute to talk about one move that I think is very important that got kind of sort of utilized on Krookodile in a GBA game, and that is Beat Up. Now, a lot of people saw the way Krookodile was used to use Beat Up on an Alakazam that has a Focus Sash, but berries are becoming so popular now because they want to take knockoffs, they want to take crunches or pursuits or whatever. Well, now you have Beat Up. Beat Up can hit 6 times total and pop the berry the first time, so you still have 5 hits to go with that dark type stab. So that's a really cool way that Krookodile can kind of sort of get around berries and get around other ways of people potentially dealing with your Krookodile. This thing also does get access to ways to deal with fairies, such as Iron Tail, and I will probably not be able to upload this video if I do not mention the way Shoddy used a Krookodile to deal with my Tangrowth, and that is because he used Sludge Bomb Krookodile. Krookodile gets a pretty unique move pool on the special side. Granted, base 65 special attack is piss poor completely. However, it's still workable. It still has ways that you can use 4 times effective moves to your advantage. For example, a Quagsire or a Swampert. I think a Swampert's a better example for this. If a Swampert wants to come in on a Krookodile because it can take an Earthquake or it can take a knockoff, Grass Knot can actually still OHKO the Swampert with investment and things of that nature, and there are ways around it. So Krookodile can still be used that way in a special side. I don't recommend it, but if it works in the situation. Shoddy got it to work to take out, or to not take out, but he 2-hit KO'd my Tangrowth with a Krookodile because of Sludge Bomb. And that just kind of opened my eyes to the fact that just because it's mainly a physical attacker doesn't mean that it's only a physical attacker. I said before in the Blaziken video that Blaziken and Krookodile make a pretty good matchup, and I also mentioned that it could go pretty well with Zapdos. However, I also think that this Mon could go very well with Skarmory, mainly because it can hazard stack. That makes the sweeping job of Blaziken and Krookodile so much easier. It can also phase, so that way whenever your opponent is setting up, you have a way to get it out and counter sweep them with your own hard hitter or wall breaker that you are bringing. I also think that Vaporeon is a very, very, very good way to work with these 2 Mons. You have a bulky water type that is immune to Scald. That means that the Scalds that want to come at both of these, they're gone. You don't have to worry about Scald burns on them. You have Haze and Roar to help with the phasing issue and the setup issue. And then you also have your own Scald, and you have a bulky water type that has base 110 special attack. So that means that your bulky water type is no longer setup fodder, as to where some bulky waters can be potentially like Quillfish, if you consider that a bulky water. I've said before that bulky pivots can work out pretty well with it, and I think Shroom really used Mesprit well with Blaziken, and I think if you had Krookodile, it would make it even better because you have another Stealth Rock Setter, so it takes some of the pressure off of Krookodile. You have a fast or slow U-turner depending on the way you want to use it. You have a Healing Wish user, so now if one of your sweepers or your wall breakers gets weakened to the point where you need to heal it back up, you are now able to do that. You also have access to Thunder Wave, and you have a lot of coverage that you need to weaken Mons to put them in range of Krookodile or Blaziken. So I think that those 4 in conjunction are pretty cool, and I also like to have Zapdos in there just because Volt Switch is nice, and Zapdos is good with basically anything because Zapdos is just Zapdos. Krookodile I think is very overlooked, and I think that a lot of people don't realize how scary it can be until they're prepping for it, and then they prep for the wrong set, and they prep for like a bulky-ish and they get swept by a Moxie set, or they prepare for a Scarf set and it just sits in and it never dies. So because of that, I'm actually going to give this thing a B, along with Blaziken also getting a B. So that's a really good core that I think people might want to try out. I strongly suggest it. I think it would be very awesome. And if you do try it out, let me know how it works. That is going to conclude this week's Draft Viability. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I really enjoy making this series. And if you guys enjoy it as well, make sure you hit that like for me. Also, make sure you go down to the comment section and leave me a comment letting me know how you like Krookodile, what you think of this core that I kind of sort of gave you guys to feed off of. And let me know what you guys would do to fix it and make it better. You have to remember a lot of the cores that I give you guys, I'm kind of sort of working with mixed tiers because hardly any drafts now are just open draft. So keep that in mind whenever you leave your suggestions. Once again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.